Hello and welcome to Talking Telecoms Week. I'm Annie Turner, editor of Mobile Europe, and today we are exploring why zero touch is not a zero-sum game in telecoms, or put another way, why network automation is a winner for all stakeholders. Just before we get going, let me remind you that after the session today, you will be able to watch again on demand. Within quite a short time after the session ends. So thank you. Okay, so without more ado, I am delighted to welcome Jose Carlos Mendez from Amdocs and Alexis Koala from Orange to discuss this fundamentally important topic. And Alexis, perhaps we could start with you just introducing yourself briefly and how your role at Orange is involved or involves zero touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. Hello, everybody. So I am Alexis Koala. So I work for Orange, and at Orange, I'm currently Director of Operations Strategy and Transformation. I work closely with Orange affiliates, about 26 in the world. And I'm leading and managing a team who is in charge of gardening for the operations efficiency for the Orange Group. It encompasses skills, technology, processes, and all the things that are around operations.
Okay, and thank you very much. And Jose Carlos, maybe you could say a few words about your role at Amdocs, please. Thank you.
Sure, thank you, Annie. I'm very excited to participate in this session. So I'm Jose Carlos Mendez. I'm a Director of Network and OSS Product Marketing at Amdocs, with a special focus on service and network automation. So basically, everything around orchestrating network and services, inventorying them, activating, assuring them. So basically, I live and breathe automation.
Okay, so it's good we have you here. Let's dive straight in. So maybe we can start with looking at why zero touch. And for the purposes of this discussion, I'm defining that as end-to-end network automation. So why is it essential and not optional? And maybe, Alexis, you can have a go at answering that.
Yeah, thank you for giving me an opportunity to start this discussion. According to me, and what we see at Orange, is that it's not automation and zero touch are not negotiable. It's the way to go. Why? Because at Orange, we are working with several vendors, providers for our network function capabilities, and we need to have a kind of way to orchestrate, to deploy, to manage the life cycle of these network function coming from various vendors. And we are looking at iteration of how to containerize, to move from vertical integration to an horizontal one that we can become a vendor agnostic, and automation will enable this journey. And I think zero touch will be the way to go, because the less we decrease human interaction and improve and increase automation, will help us to focus on where we can provide added value for our customer, B2C, B2B, and so on.
Okay, and I'm just thinking as well, end-to-end is all very well, but you can't do end-to-end all in one go. So I'm guessing you do it, address it a piece at a time, a domain at a time, or a process, or?
Yeah, it will be domain by domain, because we cannot do it at the world domain regarding networks. And we also will be impacting all our processes, operation side, and building a kind of automation that could be at the vendor layer, and also at the domain layer and at the global layer, so that we can, at Orange, I think, as a CSP, focus on the business and the customer needs, and rely on vendors to orchestrate per domain.
Okay, well, that would seem to be a perfect segue into asking you, Jose Carlos, what your take on this is.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely agree with Alexis. So automation, zero touch network automation is critical to the future of our industry. I mean, this is because, as we know, there's a new network which is more complex. There are new services that need to be launched to the market, which will be more tailored. So all of that, in order to be able to manage it efficiently, you need this level of automation. But like you were mentioning, Annie, this is a journey. It's not something you can do from one day to the other. It's very complex, and it's not something that can be oversimplified. I mean, why it's complicated? It's because as Alexis was saying, you have multiple domains, you have multiple processes, you have your legacy, you have the new network. So it's something that you need to do carefully, and you need to build trust, because trust is very important, right? So again, I mean, it's really a journey. It's something that needs to be taken. If we consider the 6 levels of automation of the telemanagement forum, based on our understanding of our industry, most service providers are between levels 2 and 3. Okay, so there's still some way to go. But the good news is that we are on the journey, and the journey has started. So the need now is to really accelerate, right? Because we see 5G standalone rollouts are accelerating. Slicing, we already see services based on static slices, but the goal is to have dynamic slicing, very stringent requirements. So in order to make money out of those 5G deployments, so basically, we are on the right journey, but we need to accelerate.
Okay, so there seems to be kind of 2 major issues here. And the first is that zero-touch automation is about handling situations and environments that are just too complex for humans to manage any other way, and particularly at scale. And like you said, Jose Carlos, stuff like dynamic network slicing, which is where we want to go, is really way beyond. You could an army of people couldn't manage it, because you can't do it fast enough in parallel. So, and then on the other hand, it's what Alexis referred to at the start, which is looking at relatively simple sort of mass market services, and doing things more efficiently and better, from keeping costs down to customer experience, and especially where the margin's low to start with. So there seems to be those 2 things going on in parallel. And I mean, Alexis, for you, is quality of service a big driver?
Yeah, because the driver behind automation is an enabler. It's not the final goal. Okay, yeah. Automation is there to improve the quality of user experience. Okay, final user. But this final user experience is linked to the data you can gather from the usage of your networks, your environment, your services, and then you can improve the quality of the user experience, because this is the thing that counts in finally. If you want to make business, it's the reality come from the ground, from users. So you can build your infrastructure, you can build whatever you want. If your customers are unhappy, you will not make business. So the quality of the data you are gathering, that will help you to drive your business requirement and fit your business requirement is critical. And AI, machine learning, and automation will help you and enable you to accelerate this strategy to reach and fit the customer needs. So the motto, the new slogan for data is finding the right data at the right time from the right sources. Because as Jose was saying, we have multiple sources of data, cloud environment, internal environment, specific domain coming from networks. So you need to find the right data at the right time from the right sources.
Okay, and I guess what you're looking at, Jose Carlos, is helping operators to do that, because it's not just, I mean, differentiation is another issue, isn't it? In why automation is important.
Yes, indeed. I mean, automation is not something new, right? We all know, but now we are on a new wave of automation. Okay, one that is intelligent. It's really data driven, like Alexis is saying. Basically, with data will be feeding the AI and machine learning algorithms to read that automation. And what we have seen, and this is not something new, is that the focus on automation is really on the fulfillment and the assurance, which is what's directly impacting your customers, and their happiness and your revenue. So yes, I mean, if you want to differentiate in mass market services where they're very low margin, we're talking about implementing automation. So we have some customers that have achieved like a 95% of automated tasks when we talk about fulfillment orchestration. And when we talk about the assurance, and also implementing AI ML based root cause analysis, we have been able to reduce the amount of tickets, travel tickets that are opened by more than 50%. And what's more important is that for the remaining tickets, we have been able to cut the time it takes to resolve them by 30%, over 30%. So I say, we have experience in automation. Automation has been there, but now, as I said at the beginning, we need to accelerate. This is a new wave of automation.
Okay, so that's Alexis. I'm going to come back to you. I'm interested in you talking about data and data models, AI. I think we've established beyond any doubt that zero touch is definitely essential. I'm just wondering what's holding up progress? What do you see as the biggest challenges?
Yeah, thank you. And this is a tricky question. I will try to give some insight from Orange because we are in the journey. So we are not yet in the target, but we are in the journey. This is a hot and used topic at Orange. Because we are struggling and we have to do so much with legacy part, okay? You know that Orange is a big company. You have 2G, 3G, 4G, and legacy part on broadband. We are working to identify and determine where it makes the most sense to automate and where we cannot automate because the legacy support infrastructure and application and so on. So once we are able to identify where we can automate and where it makes sense to automate, because we need to be competitive, we need to accelerate delivery of our new product and our new innovation. We'll build API layer to isolate the legacy part and build and accelerate the new innovation for new deployment for 5G standalone, slicing, and so on, deployed on, I may say, IT infrastructure like Kubernetes, GitHubs, and so on. For that, we need CI/CD, and CI/CD is quite mature in IT part. I am coming from IT. I just joined networks 3 years ago, and we need to copy, modify, not copy paste, copy, modify what we have learned from IT part to apply it in network to be able to automate through CI/CD pipeline using GitHubs are the only source of truth in order to orchestrate and deploy automatically the new containerized network function. The last thing I want to mention here is also the cultural mindset shift with vendors. At Orange, we are buying network function coming from multiple vendors. So we need to set up a new cultural, how to work closely together and to push our vendor to provide the delivery as a service. Otherwise, we cannot build a CI/CD from end to end from the vendor point of view to our affiliate. So this is something I think is a challenge, but let's move and take the first step together with vendors.
And Jose Carlos, what's your thinking from the vendors side of that? There's a lot in Alex's response.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah. I mean, at Amdocs, we're fully aligned with what Alex is saying. We have embraced agile methodologies, CI/CD, DevOps, etc. So we have a frequent release of our products, and then Something else that's very important is the change in the network, right? It's becoming more disaggregated, heterogeneous, more vendors, more players. So whichever solution you use to automate needs to be able to play with all of them, okay? And here is where, again, standards aligned APIs are very important, because I think Alex is mentioning that at the beginning of the session is, automation is a mean to an end. In the end is to be more agile, I think, to be able to deliver services more quickly, to assure those services even before a customer realizes, through the implementation of AI ML techniques. It's basically to be more agile. While, I mean, we live in a fast-paced world, right? We all know. If you look at the time it took for ChatGPT to go to 1 million customers, so that's just an example. So we cannot think in months. We need to think in days and weeks these days. When you are releasing a service, or when a customer wants to buy something, they want it now. They want it in real time. And I think this whole change, in the network, getting cloudified, and the automation and the AI, etc. In the end, the goal is really to bring this agility.
Okay, so Alexis, I want to circle back a bit and talk to you about data, because I've been talking to operators about managing their data for, well, a really long time.
Yeah, definitely yes. Definitely yes. As I mentioned previously, data today is coming from many sources. So you need to capture the data, you need to store the data, you need to process the data, and then you need to make decision based on the data you are captured and computed. So at Orange, as a big company, we are working with some hyperscaler, hybrid cloud. We have our own internet promised cloud internally, and we work with public cloud. So we need to find a kind of way. Maybe it could be federated data lake, to be able to have all these data to be stored internally or in the cloud, and then plug, I may say, write machine learning model, and also build AIOps models on these data to be able to improve our operations. This is the first step. And then to accelerate the decision making from our exec based on the business requirement. Everything starts from the business requirement. Which data we need to differentiate from our competitors, and to accelerate the innovation for new feature for our customer. And for that, I think we cannot do it alone. We need also to collaborate, to cooperate in a kind of ecosystem with others, to build some standard data model, standard machine learning models, so that we can have a kind of abstraction to hide the complexity of all these technology and then to focus on where we can provide and create value for our customers.
So data models and agility, do you think those are like the big topics here, Jose Carlos, around data and operators?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I mean, at Amdocs, we ran a research recently, and we found that, the two foundation pillars for automation, one of them is cloud, the evolution to cloud, having a network that is cloudified and disaggregated, and the other is data. So basically, data that you can exploit. Because, I mean, I think there was a quote from one chief data officer from the US saying that today, 70% of the time is spent collecting the data, processing the data. And then from the 30% is what you basically then spend exploiting the data. So that cannot be, right? And like Alexis is saying, the data exists today, but it's scattered, into multiple domains, in-house, legacy, etc. So there's no business case, let's face it, to build this perfect data lake, okay, with all the data you have. So you really need to be targeted, like Alexis was saying. So based on your business, which data do you need? And then create this federation layer that allows you to access the data you need when you need it and then exploit it. So absolutely align with that.
So we agree there are a lot of challenges, but also a lot of progress all at the same time. But we think operators are closer to the start of their automation journey than the end. What about next steps? Jose Carlos, what do you think the next steps need to be?
Yeah, so as we said, the journey has started, and it's moving. I think the next steps is really to accelerate in this evolution to cloud, this harnessing of data to power automation, because data and automation live in a kind of symbiosis, right? You need the data to power the automation, and then the automation will maintain that data. So we really need to accelerate. I mean, our industry has done a massive investment and is still doing on the rollout of networks, 5G, fiber, etc. There's need to be a parallel investment into operating that network. So basically being able to make it agile, to make it automated. Because in the end, technology, we all love technology, okay? But in the end, we're doing it because of the business. Yeah. And what the business is demanding is, it's new services, more agile services, tailored services, just paying for what you're using and getting the service when you want it. And as you mentioned, this is beyond human scale. So we really need to implement this automation. So, in summary, the next steps are, to keep on moving and to really progress on the cloudification of networks and to really harness the data so that you can build automation and ultimately expose, the network API so that the revenues will not come only from the traditional business, connectivity, but also will come from vertical adjacent solutions that you will develop together with partners, developers, hyperscalers, etc. So here is where, the exposure, everyone is talking about exposure today. It's a hot topic, but, you cannot have exposure efficiently if you don't have automation behind. You're making sure that network services are activated in time when the customer needs it. So I think this is fundamental for the future of our industry. So we really need to keep pushing.
Okay, and Alexis, let's give the last word to you. What do you think the next steps need to be?
Yeah, I'm fully aligned with Jose because exposure, API, cloudification, containerization, all these challenges of stake will be the next step. It's almost there, but we need to move further the line to become cloud native, AI-driven and data-driven telco or CSP in order to take advantage from our vendors, what they can do, their capabilities, also capability from the cloud, because the cloud is a very good and a key enabler for automation. And then the next step of the future is near, but for operations, what I'm leading in Orange will be partially done by human and also partially done by the systems. By system, I mean artificial intelligence, machine learning model, where you will be learning and continuously learning from your customer, from your environment, for your components. And for that, we need also to facilitate and ease the way human is interacting with the system. And I don't call it, there is a new word for that. It's not a buzzword. It's intent-based approach for autonomous network operations. Intent means I can say I want the bandwidth from point A and between point A and point B to be increased or 100 megabit per second. And the system will be able to do it at its own without human touch and human intervention. The day we will be there, I will consider that we are at zero touch and we can rest and focus on other parts.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Yes, Alexis, as you know, by then we'll have thought up a whole load more stuff to automate.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Annie.
you,
Thank you,
Annie. Thank you, Jose. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.